This is episode 311, and we're talking all about branding and why it's more than just a logo and the colors that you choose. And if you don't have a proper brand strategy, it can really impact your marketing. And I've got a special guest for you today. Welcome to the Content Queen podcast. I'm your host, Mariah, entrepreneur, storyteller, digital nomad, creator of Content Bootcamp, and founder of Content Queen with over 10 years experience in marketing. This podcast is here to help you create the ideal content marketing strategy and plan for you, blending storytelling and strategy. So let's get into it. Hello, gang. All right, we're back on the couch, and I'm going to ask someone special to come. He doesn't need any introduction. Mitch, come sit on the couch with me, and let's chat about branding. Here he comes. Woo! Bravo! Welcome.
Thank you.
So we're just going to do the hand the mic situation. So you are the next guest on the Content Queen podcast, and it's an in-person one. I like this little cozy couch chat. Yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know Mitch, he is the head of visuals behind all the nice looking things at Content Queen. He's really good at making things look good. And I really wanted to get him to come on because in the last 12 months or so, we've done a few branding projects. Now, it's not anything that we typically offer in our product suite, but for people that we know and some referrals, we wanted to take on that. And I feel like there's been a lot to it because what I found is when we've worked with clients, obviously 2 of them were for rebrands one of them was for rebrand. 2 of them were brand new brands. From zero. Sorry, correct myself. But I think a lot of them thought, oh, we're just going to get a logo and some colors and great. And that was kind of like all they thought they needed. But after we put it all together, it was like, oh, wow, this is really quite incredible. So for those that don't know, that think, oh yeah, I just need some colors and some logos, and that's kind of what, and maybe you have hired someone that's just given that and that's all you've wanted, and that's fine. But I think what we've found is without that really strong branding away from the visual brand, it does make it hard to market. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about what's in branding. Like, what have you found? Because full disclaimer, kind of the process has been, we would have a 2-hour chat with this client, just going back and forth, me doing what I do best and chitty-chatting away and asking some very targeted questions based on branding foundations, doing an archetype quiz, which we'll go into, and then Mitch kind of brings to life the visual identity from that, and then we both work on piecing together all the other elements. So take us through what you have worked on with brand and sort of how you see branding.
Okay, thank you again for having me.
No worries.
But I am always here.
Yes, he's literally always behind the camera.
Yes, behind the camera, yes. And sometimes I have ideas and I want to say, but...
Well, now's your time.
It's my time, yes. We have done three brands, 2 from zero, and 1 we just did rebrand.
Mm-hmm. Which was recently.
Yes. And yes, it's not just the logo. We realized that it's more than colors and logo. I think the logo and the colors is a people really want to see, and it's the
it's the sexy part of branding. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And
every
the main
client
thing
wants to see that.
And the main thing that people want to see, but is a lot of behind of that is more. And actually, the most important for me is the message that you can give, is all of the graphic elements that you can give to the brand. So for a start, I think the principal things and the base of have a good branding is, we realize, is the vision, mission, the foundation.
Yeah, the foundations.
The mission, vision, and the values. Because it's that support and that base, building a house. Yes. If you have a good base and good foundations, you can build a tall or a strong building, yes. Also, we realize that we have to make a little bit flexible, because when you do your vision or your mission is the propose, and yes, how you see your company, but sometimes on the way, you want to change some things, yes? So make easier but flexible too. The audience understand, and also the employees have that for do the job or for look how the brand is going to look in the future. So it's very important that the guide of the brands be flexible. Yes, that you can change, and
Well, I think it just evolves, right?
yes, but yes, it's more than just colors and logo.
Yes, I think it's been, well, one of the analogies that I put it towards is we're currently getting our bus renovated. And when Mitch has been going every week to, check out the bus and see how it's going, get some content, and the guy, Jesus, helping us renovate the bus, he was sort of saying to Mitch, the first few weeks are really the foundations, getting the flooring in, stripping everything out, putting in the plumbing, putting all the electrics, all those foundational elements that make up the bus, and then everything else added on top is the pretty stuff. So obviously when we're going, it's like, it doesn't really look like much has been done. Yeah. But of course, behind the scenes, there's so much that's gone into it. I think that's a really interesting way to see it, right? And I think with the vision, mission, and values, like we go to Pilates at the moment, and their mission says our mission is to change the way the world works out. And that's just like one liner of like, that's what they're here to do. So for example, if the head of marketing or the CEO comes to the marketers and say, we want to do this, we want to do that, they can go, okay, well, is it in alignment with what we're trying to create? And when you say like change the way the world works out, that can be flexible, right? Because they're Pilates gym, but maybe they're called studio Pilates, but maybe they add in like some yoga down the track. Yeah. Or they add elements to their brand or to their business, but it still is changing the way the world works out.
Yeah, because sometimes their propose can change over the time.
Yeah, exactly. And then your mission is, like, what are you here to do? Like, what is the goal? Like how many people you want to serve. And obviously there's lots of, you can just Google or work with ChatGPT to build all this out. But it's so important because every time you do something, you're always coming back, even with the values. For example, we're making a bit of a shift in the business, and those values loyalty is a really big one for me. And so I'm thinking about, okay, if we make shifts to the offering that we have, is it still going to align with my value of being loyal to my clients and things like that? Is it going to help us grow? And one of them, that's one of my values as well. So it's like, when we are making business decisions, how do we align those to our values? And then how do you show up in the world in alignment to those values? So like, is your marketing reflecting your values? For example, a referral program was something I brought in 2 years ago to reward my clients for being loyal. After 3 months of working with me in a retainer, I would give them, I would offer them the referral program, which meant if they offered my work, they would get a discount off the month, that the percentage discount off the month of working with me. And that was a really great offering for people because they were like, oh, cool. Like, I love your work. Of course I'd offer you, and I'd love a discount off So that was me using my value of loyalty. So without those sort of foundations, you're kind of like, what are we doing here? Like, yeah, it can work, of course. Like, your business can work, but it's rocky. And when you need to make really big decisions, which happens as your business evolves and grows, it's really hard. And when it comes to showing up on social media, I was like, how do I be authentic? Well, if you don't really know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and in what way, like in regards to what values you're trying to connect to, I think that's why you're not being authentic, because you don't really know why.
Yes. Well, it's so important that you say that, because actually when we start with a client, we do like a meeting and they tell us their story, because all of that values is building by the story that you come in. It's like when you born and you start to live, and all of your values and your personality is start to building over the time. Yes. So it's very important that the client say their story, and we find what is that values important that you want to show and offer to your audience. And another thing that I'm going to say, unique. It's different because when one brand start from zero, I think never is going to be unique. Yes, people want to be unique, but it's just different.
Yeah.
The only element that give you unique your brand is the time. So brands unique is building over the time, over the years. Yes, because from the start, you have to know that you want to look different.
Yeah.
Yes, to the rest of the.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, because like obviously a logo can be unique, like it can look different, but yeah, to be unique, it does definitely come with time. Because even when we're doing brand session and we say, you know, what is your unique selling point? And one client was like, oh, it's like you can cancel anytime. And yeah, that's a great selling point. But actually now, as we've worked in the brand, it's the community that they've built. It's it's the fact that actually like they don't look like any other recovery gym, which was one of the brands that we did from scratch. Like you look at all the other recovery gyms, it's got this aesthetic. It's like, it's kind of like personality-less. So it's like got nothing. Whereas this is like, and this is why we've got really great engagement and people want to support them. And obviously the uniqueness is the founders, like the, you know, the founders having this personality and, you know, now, you know, people buy your products and services, buy yourself as much as your products and services. I had a call just this morning with a guy. I was like, oh, you know, he's built up his YouTube to a really good point. It's not growing as much because he thinks everyone's sick of content, right? Like everything's so content information heavy. And I'm like, yeah, you are right, because people want to buy your personality now. So how do we show our personality? Yes, we can show it in those more raw channels like your TikToks, your Instagram, not so much LinkedIn. I feel like we struggle to be extremely raw and authentic on those channels. I think authentic but raw can be challenging because we think we have to be this persona. So yeah, it's like adding that uniqueness is yourself as well. And we'll talk about brand story, but if you haven't sat down and written out your values, your mission, and your vision, it's a perfect time. Like we're still in Feb. I always review mine and go back to it. But you feed that information to your team. If your team is AI, that is okay too. And this really does help you create the decisions that you need to. Like I've started uploading into ChatGPT for my own personal benefit is my human design. If you haven't heard of human design, we had Lucy on the podcast, my personality traits through like my strengths assessment. And now it like, and my values and all that. And when I'm like chatting to ChatGPT, it's taking all that information, right? So if you want to use AI and you're not feeding it with the right information, go back and do this stuff. And yeah, you can bounce questions back and forth with ChatGPT if you want. Sometimes it's actually easier to talk to someone else about it. Like how you word vomit, even if you jump on Zoom with a friend and just word vomit everything you want to do in your business, what it's about, why you're here, and then you can transcribe it and get it kind of ChatGPT'd. Yeah. But sometimes you just got to write, talk, however best for you.
Tell the story to how they create and think, because that is, they give you that tone of authenticity that you really want to have in your brand.
Yeah. And that was what's so cool about these brand sessions that I was doing with clients. And that's why I think it was a really good idea. I know like 2 hours can feel like a long time to talk to someone. You could tell at the start they were like not, and then by the end, sharing lots of things, right? Yeah. Sharing, and then that's when we could get really excited about what they were creating as well, because we were like, oh, this is so cool. They're sharing with us, you know, and what they want to create. And that's when we would get a really good feel from the business, you know, Recovery Base, which we've got a case study on them. Hopefully it's out by the time this podcast comes out. You know, they would really open up to us about what they really wanted to do, what they were really trying to create. And that can't happen in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
That needed to come with trust. And you might be pretty surface level with AI, or you might be like, find someone that can either ask the right questions or someone you could just go deep with and just share, like, because a lot of times we'd be like, oh, you know, I really like helping people and, you know, I want to make the world a better place, which I mean, we all do. But when you sit back and you go, you know what, no, like, it's because I've been to this business before, I've bought this product before, and this is why it didn't work for me. I felt excluded. I didn't feel like I belonged in that community. Like, you got to go deep with it, because that's what really brings out those mission, vision, and values. And how you use that, and we'll talk about brand story later and how deep you go with that, is your choice. But that's how people connect to what you're trying to achieve. So the next one is your customers and your message. So once you know why you're doing what you're doing and you know your values and all the things, it's like, okay, who is it that I want to help? Now, when we look at marketing, of course, we can do target audience, but often who we create content for and who we market to can be really different to our customer is. And you could break this up depending on your audience in terms of customer, as in the person that physically buys the product, especially if you market to children, or the person that uses the product. And if that is two different people, of course, write on both, but understanding who those customers are. Who are the people that you want to target? And then when you look at your marketing plan, you can start to build out who are the people that I'm actually going to market to and where. Because, for example, you might have 3 different sort of audiences and one of them might be on social media, for example. But one of the things I just wanted to quickly touch on was Mitch recommended me this book, Competing Against Luck.
Yeah, so good.
I just started reading it today. And in the first few pages, like, it captivated me because the guy is talking about how we have never had access to as much data as we have now.
Yeah.
In terms of people, consumers. We have the most consumer data and we're still using it wrong, which I felt was really interesting because he said, all right, for example, I know John, he's 58 years old, he drives a minivan, he works in New York City, and he buys the New York Times. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he's 58, drives a minivan, and works in the city does not necessarily mean that he is a consumer of the New York Times. Yeah. They are his demographics, his age, his occupation. Driving a minivan, maybe not a demographic as such, but it's that level deeper. What are the values and what are the things that make John, did I say his name was John?
Yeah, John.
Yeah, okay, I forgot. That make John buy the New York Times. Because, yes, it isn't always just the fact that he's a certain age. Yeah. And a lot of the times, yes, we do put the age, the occupation, and it's good to know the demographics, especially for, like, finding the right channels and things like that. But from a customer perspective, you have to understand their values. You have to understand their beliefs and their goals and their behaviors. And we actually have access to a lot of this information. And what he was sort of saying in this book was, we're just not using it. We're not using the type of information that we have.
Or we don't research very good.
And how many times, like, this is a bias thing, right, as well. This is where our bias comes in. And, like, we were at a workshop last year and remember there was the truffle growers. So they grow truffles in the ground, like the fungus are delicious. I love truffle. And they were saying, oh, obviously the truffle, we have truffle dogs, they sniff out the truffles, da da da. But everyone does content on truffle dogs. So we don't want to do that because that's boring and people don't want to watch that. And then one woman put her hand up who was in there because she was a supplier, she was a potential collaboration. She's like, I want to see your truffle dogs. So what you think and what your customer thinks can be two very different things. Even if maybe you were your target audience at some stage or your customer, even if you know, it's sometimes you do have to be open to exploring more about what your audience needs. And I do find a lot of business owners often create the content and the marketing that they want over what their audience is actually looking for.
And also because in the platforms and the digital platforms, social media and everything, because change a lot all the time. Yes, every day it's changing. Sometimes that you think your audience is looking is the trends. And because it's trends, you want to jump in the trends.
Also true.
But that is the future. For me, all of that content of all of that message that you want to give in base of trends is going to be the future garbage. Yes? That doesn't going to work. Just work for the first people. Yes? But maybe take a risk and looks the things different. Yes? That obviously based at the study that you did for your audience or for that buyer persona.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say there too, because that is true. We can, and this is where we need to be mindful of getting caught up in the vanity metrics over what the messaging is. And this is where it's interesting with your customer and the message. So yeah, those top of funnel pieces of content are good for those engagement spikes and getting in front of more people, but it's the actual messaging around how they buy, what is going to make them buy. So when we're looking at that, we're looking at messaging that has, gotten people to actually make a purchasing decision. So this is where like sales psychology comes in, right? And this is why branding and marketing are different, because branding does take on all elements of the business, like the sales and everything like that. But this is where we go, oh, okay, well, when I was marketing my retreat and I did a series of emails, this was the email where people joined the wait list or visited the sales page. Obviously, we have way more information from that, from our website and our email. We don't often get that from our Instagrams, except we can get people to go through to our website. But of course, data can be a little bit skewed in terms of maybe they didn't go directly to your website just then, or that's why we want to look at different metrics as well, like saves, follows, and website taps, not just always, yes, the vanity, which would come from doing trends. And yeah, I think it's like a balance between really understanding your audience and, as you said, doing things a little bit outside of the box to attract their attention.
Yes. So it's basically when you put a bucket and put all of the brands of that industry, and they looks exactly the same because they jump in all of the trends. So you see all of the, like a financial planner looks the same color, the same, aesthetic.
Yeah, aesthetic.
Aesthetic. All of the gyms looks the same, yes? So how can you go outside of the bucket?
There was a Toyota Coaster that just drove past.
Yeah.
I missed that, Anita. Sorry, continue.
And yes, it's something that you say.
Yeah, and we've seen this. Like we have a woman we do lots of partnerships with her clients, and she's a brand specialist. And as you're saying, like say financial planning, they always go with the blues and things like that. And this is where like obviously your colors and stuff are important, but it's like, why those? Like, what is the psychology around it? And that's what you're really good at looking into, is like when we look at colors and feelings and brand elements, it's like, oh, that looks pretty, but it's more about like how it makes people feel. And
psychologically.
And every time Mitch, it's like blows my mind. Like he'll go so deep on why that color, and I'm like, oh my God, like why would anyone say no to that color? Because like you've given me so many reasons for it to make sense.
Yes, but it's also because I really want, my ideal brand is that brand that works for the people that take that guideline and can work with that, yes, and can understand. And in base of that, can understand that is the communication that we have to offer to our audience. And the audience as well perceive all of the elements of the branding perceive at the same. So everything have to be aligned with one message. And for the reason, the values, for the reason, the psychology of the colors, of the logo, of the elements, yes, all of together have to work for just the purpose that is in the vision, in the
what you're trying to
values.
achieve.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's why it isn't just about starting with the colors and the logo, because they are a byproduct of all the work that you do. So yeah, it's your customer, your message. What do you want them to say about you when you're not in the room? Or what are the key messages? Because yeah, we can have 1,000 things that we can help people with, but what is that one key message? And really think about, what is it we're trying to achieve? What is the ladder of transformation? And when you're doing your messaging, thinking about, okay, what are the people getting? Yes, they're getting the actual deliverable, the product, the service, but how is it changing their identity and how they're seen in the world? And that's what you want to go for as well. It's not just, oh, I buy this hair tie or this scrunchie because it keeps the hair off the back of my neck. It's like, yeah, okay, that's just the product, right? That's the function of the product. But no, the fact that this has moons and stars on it, and when I have it in my hair, it makes me look more feminine, and I want to connect to my feminine energy and my moon spirit, and like, you know, it's like the identity that I shift into when my hair is up. It means I mean business. Like, they're the things that we want to look at. It's not just the product, it's the transformation. That's where the messaging comes through. So we could literally talk about this all day and go off different topics and confuse the absolute hell out of you, but we don't want to do that. So the third thing that we're going to talk about is brand archetypes and brand story. Now, what we did with some clients is, and I do have a podcast episode with another brand strategist that I'll put in the show notes, and there's a blog that kind of goes with this that I think would be really helpful of taking you through the different elements of a brand. And you can totally do this on your own. I personally wouldn't do any logos or fonts on my own because that is a disaster waiting to happen.
That's why we are a good complement.
Yeah, that's why we're a good complement, because he does all the things that I'm terrible at. But brand archetypes are basically you take an online quiz and it asks you questions about your customer and your brand, and it comes and gives you 3 different profiles. Now, out of those 3 profiles, that really helps you understand how, and it'll link you to certain brands that are the same. It does give you some like key core marketing messaging and things like that, but it helps you understand how you show up in the world, right?
Yes, well, I understand the brand archetypes as like the universal personalities, patterns, yes, that the brands can have to connect with the audience emotionally. Yes, it's basically this. Actually, there are 12 types.
Yeah, it's like a personality quiz for your business.
Yes, but it's in base of, yes, also your personality or the personality that you want to give, because with that, you like give that human touch to the brand.
Yeah.
And communication is so important. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I took it, I can't remember the other 2 because I'm still doing a little bit more work on it. But the first one was the lover. And I really resonated with that because everything I do, I try to, and it is very funny because if you have ever done a human design reading, my incarnation cross, I think it's called, is to be a vessel of love. And it was something I always shut down as I was in my 20s because, you know, like single girl, I don't do love. That was like my brand message because I was single for a long time. And yeah, so like love for me felt this really, I didn't feel like I could express it, right? Yeah. And then of course through work and all the things. And it does really make sense that Content Queen is that sort of lover archetype because that's what I'm here to do. And I feel like when I try to show up on a client call or in my membership or whatever it is on social media, I am trying to create that element of feeling supported and loved. And now that I'm leaning into that more, it does help me with my storytelling and how I show up. And you know, I am not that person that is going to tell you, you should do this, you should do that, because your lover isn't like that. Your lover is here to love you unconditionally, no matter what you do. And that is truly what I do. So someone could come out and say, if you're not on TikTok, your business is going to fail. And that, I don't believe that. I have seen people be successful on Facebook, on here, on there. I'm not the tough love person. Yes, of course, I can motivate you and inspire you, but I'm not going to be that one that's going to have I have like controversial thoughts, but they're not really controversial because they always come with love. And I always tried like, oh, you know, all these people on social media, like they're so controversial and they really, and that is just not in my nature. I can do things like funny in a way, like when I do it, but that's not Content Queen. To me, Content Queen is here to give you unconditional love.
Yes, I think that give you like that, yes, again, authenticity to be yourself, because it's so easy, like you take things from another brands that not necessarily is you. Your personality is totally different. Brand archetypes give you that uniqueness that you want to show in your brand, in your marketing, in your content. Yes, when you're going to post something, that remember that you're going to touch, if you are a lover, with love, and you're going to talk with more emotional and and to really give love to that, to your audience.
Yeah. So we'll put the link to the quiz in the show notes if you want to take it, and tell us what you got, because it's very cool. Because that's what I've been exploring. I did an email on it recently about using the brand archetypes in your storytelling. And I think what happens with content is and marketing is we're so like, let's put shit out like hamster wheel, like, okay, I've got to post something, so let's just get it out. And without that intentionality, without being intentional, it can fall flat. And people aren't, because you're not connecting back to your vision, your mission, your values. You're not connecting to the audience or the message that you want to relay. And you're not grounded in who you actually are as a brand or a business or a personal brand. Even a personal brand is a brand. So when, I go to post a video, okay, what do I want to achieve? Who am I trying to market to here? What's the overall purpose? And all right, cool, I'm the lover. Let's step into the lover. And off I go. So it's like, and I need to do this more, right? Because there are times where I'm like, oh, there's a video that needs to go out today and I haven't filmed it. Like, it happens to all of us. And of course, we're not perfect. But when you do try to connect all those things together, it makes sense as to why you're doing it. This is why when I love on TikTok, for example, content creators explain the art of their content. And they make it sound like it's this beautiful art form, which it is. Like, content can be, that's what it is. But the way they explain it just sounds so unique to them. Even them talking about, like, say they film a get ready with me or a day in my life as an influencer, as a content creator. The way they take us through the process of how they build it, it just makes it sound so, like, it's so enticing and so, like, it's an art form. They've put all this energy into it. So you treat those things like that and people will start to realize that's what it is. Yeah. People will start to pay more attention. And then you can bring in your brand story. So the brand story is the last element that I think we forget about I did a workshop with some wellness business owners, and that was the main message. We forget to go back to why we're doing this, and we forget to tell people our brand story or who we are and what we do, because people forget we're busy. We don't remember that you started this business to be a digital nomad and travel. We forget you are even a digital nomad. And on that point, where are you in the world right now? Because you don't tell us all the time, and you might post one story on your Instagram and then expect everyone to know what you're doing. So it's like always coming back to that brand message, that brand story, why you do it, because people forget, or people are always new that are showing up. And if you don't keep showing that, like, and that's why you have to really love what you do and your story and love what you're about and love your brand, because you will want to bash your head up against a wall, talking about it all the time.
Be fan of your story, yes.
Yeah.
Because the only person that can tell you really good and interesting and emotional is you, that you live that.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter what language you speak or whatever. Like, even Mitch, when he's telling me a story, it doesn't matter. When he loves telling the story, it's so engaging, regardless of his English, which I know he gets very hard on himself for. But anyway, that's okay. But when you know what you're going to tell and you just go with the flow of that, it's magnetic and people want to keep listening to you, and you build this energy that everyone wants to be around. So they're the things that we want you to look at: values, mission, and vision, your customer and your message, and your brand archetypes and your brand story. As I said, I do have a blog on this, which I'm going to refresh and put in the show notes. And I have another podcast with the brand strategist to go over this. But when we've been creating content with businesses that have this really strong brand foundation, it has made our lives a lot easier. So we wanted to talk about that from the lens of a marketer who's done a bit of branding, but also, like, lots of brand people will talk about brand and you go, oh yeah, brand. And then we've just had people come to us like, I didn't realize how deep this was, but it does make a lot of sense and make our lives easier. But be a content queen or king, and remember that developing your strategy, whether it's marketing, content, brand strategy, and your story, develops your business. Thank you so much for joining us today. And please don't forget to share this with all your business friends. You can send them a link to this episode, or you can share it on your Instagram stories, your Facebook stories, your TikTok stories, and tag us at Content Queen Mariah. Again, you can just tell them about it if you wish. And if you loved the episode and you got a lot from it, it does mean a lot if you leave a review. We've got some amazing guests coming up, and they've found me through Knowing Why podcast, through the charts. We're up to 311 episodes. So if you've been listening for a long time, I would love it if you could leave a cheeky review, whether on Apple or 5 stars on Spotify. And if there are any topics you want me to talk about in the future, any guests you'd like me to get on, send me an email, information@contentqueenmariah.com, or a message on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you're following me. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye.